The United Nations is calling the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy on immigration illegal.
It is the latest in the mounting criticism on separating immigrant children from parents at the border. Eyewitness News border reporter Oscar Margain tells us a federal judge is also weighing in on the issue.
On Tuesday, the UN's human rights spokesperson slammed the U.S.'s policy at the border that would prosecute all undocumented adults crossing illegally, essentially stripping them of any accompanying children they arrived with.
Detention is never in the best interest of the child and always constitutes a child rights violation.
It's the latest condemnation since Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced the policy change on May 7th.
That child may be separated from you as required by law.
Now, 3 days after this announcement, confusion and frustration not only from undocumented parents but government officials who were captured on this audio recording from inside a federal courtroom in Brownsville, Texas during a sentencing hearing.
Mr. Hernandez Lopez, anything you wish to say before sentence?
Si mi niña se va a ir conmigo cuando me deporten a mí.
Your Honor, both she and the man next to her had their children with them. They had a credible fear claim. They were both taken into custody and their children were separated from them, and I've been unable to figure out where the children are at this point.
Okay, my understanding, the way it's supposed to work, is because you're from a country other than Mexico, you're going to be sent to a camp, and you're going to be sent to a camp where your child will be allowed to join you. That's my understanding of how it's supposed to work. The theory is that's going to keep you from coming to this country.
At this point, Judge Ronald Morgan gets the same question from two more immigrants. The last one causes the judge to send a stern message to the government.
El mismo caso de ellos que mi hija, solo que ella no me la han separado, pero me dijeron que sí me la iban a quitar.
Well, let's hope they don't. You and your daughter should be joined together. Standard. My understanding is that where there is parent and child, the parent and child are supposed to be joined before they are separated and sent home. Is that correct?
That's what I've heard, Your Honor, as well.
Tell you what, if it's not, then a lot of folks have some answering to do. Because what you've done, in effect, by separating these children, is you're putting them someplace without their parent. You can imagine there's a hell, and that's probably what it looks like.
Figure represents the number.
According to Homeland Security, about 700 children have been taken from their parents since October.
Yes, that number is correct.
How many?
Now, what effect has this policy had on Southwest border apprehensions? Well, it might be too early to tell. The latest numbers released today by Border Patrol show a 1.9% increase in the number of people caught crossing the border illegally compared to April. In Weslaco on the Texas-Mexico border, I'm Oscar Margain reporting.